who's the owner, or the co-owner, I should say, of the New York Giants from Arizona, as they get ready to play the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. You know who he's rooting for. And I'm sort of rooting for him, too. I like the underdog. I always like the underdog, but that's another story we'll get to later. But let's go under the water a little bit and talk about something that is near and dear to the people who live here in the Turks and Caicos, and should be near and dear to you if you're visiting the Turks and Caicos, which, of course, is the environment. And, you know, what do you do in a place where it's known for its beauty, it's known for its beaches, it's known for its coral reefs, it's known for its underwater life, and how do you protect that, and how do you preserve it? And, of course, the buzzword today, how do you sustain that? And joining me is Chuck Hesse, who's the Chief Development Officer of the Caicos Conch Farm. Did I get it?
You got it right. It's Conch Farm.
Because people sometimes say conch, but it's conch.
It's conch.
Now, for those people who don't know what a conch is, why don't you help us out?
I think a conch is most well known by people who go to the Conch Republic, go to Key West, and they put a big pink and white shell up to their ear and say, "I hear the sound of the sea."
Or they were smoking a lot of dope.
Well, that's an option here, too.
Oh, thanks so much for ending my career. Go ahead, Chuck.
Other than that, it's also known as one of the best seafood proteins that's available. Each animal contains about 1/4 pound of meat, which we might see served as conch salad, as conch fritters, as cracked conch, a local Caribbean or Bahamian delicacy. And I think equally important, because you mentioned this word ecosystems and taking care of the environment, it's one of the 3 primary animals that in this part of the world cuts the grass, meaning it eats the algae, and provides food for the rest of the food chain.
So if you get rid of the conch, you're in trouble.
We're in big trouble as a marine ecosystem that wants to promote sustainable tourism.
So what do you do about it?
What do you do about it? You take people like me who decide that this is going to happen, and I go back here briefly because I think it's important for everybody to understand. In 1968 in Providenciales, there were no roads. There was nothing here. So everything that you see around you today has taken place in the last 40 years. So in that same 40 years, there's been an emerging interest in conch as a food source beyond sustainable, renewable local use. In 1992, it was identified by the CITES people who controlled trade in endangered species. And in 1992, they made conch the first commercial species that was commercially endangered. So we've identified it needs to be taken care of.
But how do you enforce that?
You enforce that rather aggressively in that any conch that's moved in transit today, in order to get into a country, must carry a permit that says it comes from a country that has a sustainable management program. Right now, the 2 leading are the Turks and Caicos and Jamaica, who have an A record for that, and everybody else has pretty much a C- record.
Ooh, well, congratulations then. And don't ask me what I had for dinner last night.
I would hope you had some of mine, because it's farmed. It's sustainable and renewable times 10.
And it was delicious. Tastes just like chicken, but I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I think it tastes better than chicken.
I know.
Somebody must not have prepared it right.
No, they did a very good job. But is there a website that people can go to, Chuck, to really understand more about this?
That's correct. They can go to www.caicosconchfarm.com.
And that'll tell them what they need to know.
It'll tell them what they need to know about farming. It'll tell them about opportunities for franchises elsewhere in the region. It will tell them the amounts of product that are coming in. What it might not tell them, which is an interesting global perspective, is it turns out the one ethnic group of people that love conch more than Bahamians and more than Turks Islanders and more than West Indian are Chinese.
For reasons of aphrodisiacs, perhaps?
You said it, I didn't.
That's okay.
Significantly, if we think about it.
See, if you put the shell up to your ear, then you hear something else. Then,
yes, that's right. And never mind vaginal art and things like that are part of a conch shell. But if we look at this situation, we'll realize that there's going to be an incredible demand from 300 million middle-class Chinese.
Who are now starting to travel.
And not only are they going to travel, they already know and appreciate what a conch is for the very reason you talked about.
Yeah.
So there's an emerging market that's bigger than the entire current American market.
And, we forget about that. There are 120 cities in China that have more than 1 million people in them each. We can't name a single one of them, and they're all starting to travel.
And I think that the impact of that in the next 5 years, even for a little lost place like this that 40 years ago didn't have a wheel, is going to be immense.
Now, so 40 years from now, the conchs will be driving.
if there's any conchs left, unfortunately, and we both know that's a serious problem.
It is a serious problem. So the name of the website once again?
www.caicosconchfarm.com.
And Caicos is spelled C-A-I-C-O-S. All right, Chuck, I appreciate that. Chuck Hesse from the Caicos Conch Farm. And it's not conch. I know that. Thank you so much. And when we come back, we're going to talk about